Last year, I had the distinct honor to meet the Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States, the Honorable Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Our meeting took place at the Lotus Club on the Upper East Side, where the leadership of the New York Board of Rabbis presented Justice Ginsburg with a humanitarian award. First, we met with her in an upstairs room where photos were taken. Then we headed downstairs to the main area where some 40 people were gathered for an intimate talk and short discussion. The Supreme Court Justice shared her story. I went to college at Cornell, where I met my husband. He got into Harvard Law. Upon graduating college, I followed him there. It was an honor to be there. There were 9 women in my class out of 500 students in my year. My husband got a position at a law firm in New York, so I once again followed him. I transferred to Columbia, where things were a little bit better. There were 12 women in my law school class at Columbia out of 300 students that were in my grade. Justice Ginsburg graduated first in her class both at Cornell and at Columbia. At the time, prominent law firms would post flyers around Columbia Law School seeking applicants. They had no qualms about writing on their postings, seeking men only. Justice Ginsburg continued, "When I graduated Columbia in 1959, I had 3 strikes against me. 1, I was a Jew. 2, I was a woman. And 3, I was a mother." She said she had a 4-year-old daughter at the time. Fortunately, I had a professor at Columbia who had a connection with the Supreme Court Justice. The justice would regularly request students from the professor to be law clerks in his chambers. My professor told the Supreme Court Justice to hire Ruth Bader Ginsburg. The judge flinched. He said, "It's going to be hard work, many late nights and Sundays." My professor insisted, "Give Ruth Bader Ginsburg a chance, and if you don't, I won't send you any more students." Not long ago, one of my colleagues on the bench had a discussion. She said, "What should have become of us today? If things back then were as they are today, by now we would have been retired from being partners at some law firm. But because opportunities were not available to women, we are here instead. We sit on the highest court of the United States." Justice Ginsburg is widely acknowledged as having been at the forefront of women's rights for equality. In her words, she fights for gender equality. She shared stories about men who were discriminated against and her efforts to advocate for them as well. She also spoke passionately about her relationship with Justice Scalia. She noted how they are such different people, yet they were very close. Justice Ginsburg said, we were one in our reverence for the Constitution and for the institution we both serve. She said, "He always made me laugh." Justice Ginsburg continued, "Many are unaware that Justice Scalia's father was a professor of Latin at Brooklyn College. Justice Scalia himself was a wonderful grammarian. After reviewing decisions that I prepared, Justice Scalia would periodically come into my chambers and correct my grammar. In turn, I would often say to him, 'Your opinion is rather strident. You ought to tone it down.' Of course, he never listened. We both loved family. We both had a passion for the opera. Our judicial meetings are paler without him. I continue to stay in touch with his wife." Justice Ginsburg spoke about what it was like to be a Jewish Supreme Court justice. She was, of course, the first Jewish woman appointed to the Supreme Court, and she publicly took pride in her Jewish upbringing and background. Shortly after her appointment, she addressed the American Jewish Committee and said, "I am a judge, born, raised, and proud of being a Jew. The demand for justice runs through the entirety of the Jewish tradition." She quoted the Torah, "Tzedek, tzedek tirdof," "Justice, justice shall you pursue." Asked whether she sits on the bench on Yom Kippur, she replied, "We have a precedent in baseball. We don't sit on Yom Kippur, just as we don't sit on Good Friday." During the discussion, Justice Ginsburg was asked, "How do you carry on? You faced a lifetime flourishing in the face of adversity. How do you do it?" Here is a woman who had endured incredible hardship. Her mother was diagnosed with cancer and died the day before Ginsburg's high school graduation. Her husband was diagnosed with cancer at Harvard, and she helped him get through school, even while maintaining her own position at the top of her class. Justice Ginsburg herself had 4 bouts with cancer, incredible amount of suffering, so many personal challenges and difficulties. And yet, until the 2018 term, Justice Ginsburg had not missed a day of oral arguments, not even when she was undergoing chemotherapy for pancreatic cancer, after surgery for colon cancer, or on the day after her husband died in 2010. Her reply was sincere and profound. She said, "I realize that I simply have work to get done. I have an important job, and I have to try to do it as well as I can. As we approach Shabbat Shuvah and Yom Kippur, Justice Ginsburg reminds us what it means to literally turn ourselves around while holding strong to our values and fighting for what we believe in. After another difficult week in our country, we could use Justice Ginsburg to help us pray for strength, wisdom, and for positive change. Please now listen to a recording of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg reciting the prayer for country during the bar mitzvah service of her grandnephew at Congregation Bethel in Bethesda, Maryland. Zichronah livracha, may her memory forever be a blessing.
But we're also honored to have with us to offer the prayer for the country, one of its number one top citizens, who's done so much for the well-being of our country, Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Justice Ginsburg is the great aunt of our bar mitzvah, and since we want to keep the spotlight on the bar mitzvah, she's agreed that I only should say that it's our honor that you're with us today, and we look forward to seeing you back here for Jordan's bar mitzvah. Prayer for the country, page 148.
Our God and God of our forebears, we ask your blessing for our country, for its government, for its leaders, advisors, judges, and all who exercise just and rightful authority. Teach them insights from your Torah, that they may administer all affairs of state fairly, that peace and security, happiness and prosperity, justice and freedom may forever abide in our midst. Creator of all flesh, bless all the inhabitants of our country with your spirit. May citizens of all races and creeds forge a common bond in true harmony to banish hatred and bigotry and to safeguard the ideals and free institutions that are the pride and glory of our country. May this land under your providence be an influence for good throughout the world, promoting among all nations and people peace and freedom, helping them to fulfill the vision of your prophet. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they experience war anymore. And let us say, Amen.